Hey engineers, and welcome to video 1.2.5, which is work, energy, and power. And I thought a really great way to get us started today is to give you an example of work, energy, and specifically power. The Tesla P100D. Turns out the Tesla P100D, it's an electric car that it goes from 0 to 60 faster than any other production car that's out there right now. And it's really incredible. I forget where he is, like in Oklahoma or something. He actually takes it and he trolls all the drag racers by taking his Tesla out to these drag races. And he's taken all the seats out of it. He's taken everything he possibly can to lower the weight. I think he only lowered it by like 500 pounds, but that 500 pounds gives him a little bit better acceleration, but he can like put these people to waste. Some really serious cars. YouTube is not cooperating right now. There you go. I'm a Cobra. And this thing has torque right now. I mean, it's all to shift through gears. I mean, it can go through cars like nothing. How does that work? So let's get talking. Work. We talked about work before in 1.2.1. It's the ability to lift something, a force times a distance. Like you're pushing on it and it goes in the direction that you're pushing in. And that's what we define as work in the science world. The unit of work is a joule or a Newton meter or a foot, a pound foot. Those are the English equivalents of that. For example, a student lifts a 50-pound ball 4 feet in 5 seconds. How many joules of work did the student complete? You'd just pull out your calculator and you'd say work is the force times the distance. So my force is 50 pounds and the distance is 4 feet. So 50 times 4 is 200. And that's going to be pound feet. Mind your units. It says how many joules of work did the student complete? Oh man, so I'm just going to go to YouTube and I'm going to say, or not YouTube, but Google, and I'm just going to do the equivalents right here and say 50 pound feet to Newton meters. 67.791 Newton meters. Or I could go this way. How many joules is 200 pound feet?
200 foot-pounds is 271.164.
271 joules. So there's just an equivalent somewhere along the lines that I don't know off the top of my head. I just look it up. 271 joules of energy that it took to do that work. Energy. The energy is the ability to do work. And we talked about different types of energy before: renewable energy, non-renewable energy, and inexhaustible energy. We have different types of energy. There's potential. Potential energy is storing up energy, and we can store it through gravity. Like this is a pond up at elevation in the mountains, so we can let that water flow down. They do that. This is how they store energy out west. When you need energy during the day, at night when nobody's using electricity, they pump water up, and then during the day they let it flow down. When they need lots of power for industry or air conditioning or whatever, they let it flow through the turbines to help add power to the grid. You can store energy through biology. I mean, like a tree growing rings, like you're storing up and sequestering energy inside of the plant cells. You can store it through fossil fuels, take it down underground, and you can store it through chemical energy too, like a battery. Kinetic energy, that's energy in motion. So you're physically creating motion. So you raise something up to then turn it into motion later, like hydroelectric dams, propellant out the side, or electricity moving through a wire. Energy transforms all the time. Like, how am I talking right now? Well, I ate food, right? Where did my food get its energy from? Well, maybe my food ate food, like if it was a hamburger. It would maybe eat grain. Where did the grain get it from? Ultimately, the sun. So energy is the currency of the entire universe. There's a thing that's there's a law that says energy can neither be created nor destroyed. The universe was born with a certain amount of energy, and now it's just trading hands through an economy. Like you buy it and then you give it away. So you eat food, taking in chemical energy. You start moving, you're giving it away as kinetic energy. Taking in sunlight, storing it in, and then breaking that down into a biofuel, radiant to chemical energy. Electrical energy to then heat your dinner, changing hands constantly. The different types of renewables we had talked about before, like biomass, hydropower, geothermal, solar, and wind. Some of these are inexhaustible, like solar, geothermal, wind, hydro, biomass, depends. Non-renewable, things that we just, in a human being's lifetime, we can't renew them. Conservation, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. And nothing is 100% efficient, meaning that whenever you go from one energy form to another, something is always lost, except for one place in the universe, and it's called annihilation. When matter meets its antimatter self. Like if you've ever had a PET scan, you've ever heard of a positron emission tomography, but if you have an electron meets its antimatter positron, and then they hit each other, they go from being 100% matter into 100% energy. It's the only completely 100% efficient energy transformation, going from mass to energy, like E equals mc squared. Maybe you've heard of that, but that's what that means, is that you can go from energy to mass. That's the only 100% efficient energy transport in this world. Fossil fuels, we can use its energy that's stored in the chemical reaction. We can then create heat, and that heat drives a piston, and that piston we could turn a turbine, run a car. Solar cells, we can go right from sunlight to making electricity. A wind turbine, sun heats the ground then creates motion, and then we harness that motion through transmissions and gears to turn a turbine, which makes power, and so on. All of these different ways we go from one type of energy to another type of energy. Efficiency, and you've done efficiency before, and you've done it in simple machines. Efficiency is how much energy do you get out divided by how much you get in. Now, we will never get the same amount out than what we put in. We're always going to lose some of it. Like if I get 9 joules out, but I had to put 10 joules in, that's a 90% efficiency. Certain energy concerns, let me tell you how energy shapes the politics of this world. Think about the Middle East. The only reason anyone cares about the Middle East is the fact that they're sitting on a bunch of energy. Like just under the ground where they're at is something that we can burn very readily right in our vehicles with minimal amount of processing. And boy, we fight over it. Our ability to then use our energy, and where do we get our energy from? And as our technology gets more and more, we start consuming more and more energy, so we have to be better with it, more efficient with it. Engineers, we always want to make things bigger, faster, stronger, more efficient, cheaper. Power. Power is how much energy you use divided by how much time. So you can take that 50-pound ball and raise it up 4 feet, but who does it faster? And that's what power is. That's why that P100D, when it's going, it can get to the end faster. The SI base unit of power is a watt, and if you use 1 joule every second, we call that 1 watt, W-A-T-T. Electrical power, types of power, we can use electricity. Mechanical power, that's using that force times distance, simple machines. And there's fluid power. We'll have a unit on fluid power later on in the year, and that's something like pneumatics. If you've ever seen a car that can go up and down, or hydraulics. Any farm equipment runs basically on hydraulics, pushing a fluid through lines to do work. We'll go back to that same one. 50 pounds for 4 feet in 5 seconds. How many watts of power did that student lift? Now we have to go back. We know that it was 271 joules. But then you do that in 5 seconds. And remember that a watt is a joule per second. So if you take 271 and you divide by 5, you get 54. Watts of power. And that's all I've got for you with work, energy, and power. Now remember, work is force times distance. Energy is the ability to do work, so work and energy have the same units. And then power is how fast you can do work.